Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Corey, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. One of the things that keeps people sexless or within the sexless relationship is because they've got a hope strategy. And I was talking about hope strategy to my son yesterday. I wonder what his thoughts are when he thinks about his dad, because sometimes I sit down and then I'm talking to him with about hope strategy, that you have to be doing this, you have to do it like that. And I would like to hear his perspective when he talks about me. So, but anyways, can you imagine me being your dad, just constantly, trying to strategize things? But anyways, when I was talking about him, we're talking about, because you're saying he hopes that this happens, and I was like, yeah, that's really cool that you're hoping for this to happen, but you have to apply yourself and put some inputs to it. And generally, just because you've put those inputs doesn't mean that it is going to happen. There's the likelihood of it to happen is it's going to be always based on how much you execute on your inputs. So, for example, he wants to get a new job. You still have to apply for the job. You still have to send your CV or resume in America, and again, you still have to go to an interview, and then so there's a different points where you have to execute in order to get the outcome. And when it comes to a sexless relationship, most people go and put in the resume, and then if they don't hear anything or they get a rejection, then they never want to send another resume because they've got this rejection. And a lot of it because it's all based on hope. And if you think, I hope this happens, you sort of send it to the gods, or you send it to send your CV and just hope that things work out. It doesn't quite work like that. You still have to apply yourself. And most people don't really want to push themselves beyond their comfort zone. So where you get the best result in terms of moving out of a sexless relationship is you actually getting uncomfortable and being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So again, when I was talking to him about this, he actually got what I was saying, and I was saying that the sending the CV is one input, but the second input is now then having to learn about the company that you're trying to get the job with, and then having to talk about it in a way that will be pleasing to the people that are interviewing you. So again, part of it, and I was also talking about how the interview isn't you answering questions, but it's as well as you really asking about the leadership, asking about the company, in order for you to actually make an informed decision. Because if they do offer you the contract without really actually ironing out your own questions and answering your own questions, you might be going into a place where you are going to absolutely hate. So again, that's an input that's quite uncomfortable, putting your interview, somebody who's going to be giving you a job, putting them on the spot. I've done it many times, and it's probably the most effective way of getting a job. If you're trying to get a job, flipping the frame when you're actually speaking in the conversation will get you the job. I've always got the job. In fact, I've almost got a 99% result just because of this, not because I'm a crazy, excellent or whatever you might be thinking, but it's more of just understanding that dynamic of putting that input in, where it's uncomfortable to put the interviewer into a place where they're now selling themselves, and basically that's what it was. So I think there's all these inputs that you're going to have to put in, execute, and as you execute them, what you are hoping for becomes reality. So you have to think of that. And when you think about being in a sexless relationship, most people think, I've tried all these other things, they've failed, so now I'm just going to sit back and just hope that things get better. The unfortunate part about it is that you're either growing or dying within a relationship. There isn't maintenance, there isn't, for now, it's okay. And most people are quite okay with living like that. But again, you have to consider that as a human, as a person, you are getting older, you're evolving, and there's always things that are around you that are evolving. So for example, the way I was as a dad when my youngest was a baby, and to now when she's 11, I'm a completely different person. As a husband, I'm completely different. I've changed jobs, I've worked at different places, I own my own engineering business. That has changed me from the time when I was just an apprentice till now. There's all these changes that are happening. So therefore, as you are evolving as a person, it gives you the opportunity for a relationship to grow. But if you're not putting the right inputs into the relationship, you're then also dying. And we can become complacent. I'm guilty of it. And sometimes, even with the knowledge that I know, I can become complacent. I can become, no, when I say complacent, I mean I'm not doing the right inputs in order to keep things growing within our relationship. So when I'm speaking about this, and I know I'm not giving you specific points that you can do, because obviously everybody's different. Everybody's approach is going to be different. And this is why we try and get people to come for a strategy session. We talk about their relationship, talk about where they are right now, what they've tried, how and at least what their plans are in order to see something fulfilling within a relationship. Because at the end of the day, the sad part about all of this is that you can hope. And I've met a lot of guys that have hoped that are later on in their life. I think the eldest was 78, a guy, and he has been in a sexless relationship for over 40 years. He's been loyal, he's been faithful to his partner. But now when he sits back and looks, he thinks, I wish I'd done more to change things. And I don't really want that to be you. And I don't want you to be sitting back and thinking, I wish I did more. Life is very fragile. Life is very short. Being complacent, taking each day at a time, hoping, is such a terrible strategy, and it's such a horrible strategy, because now it shortens your life. And that's the other bit, that it really does shorten your life. You start living the same day. You have chronic resentment. You got chronic stress. You got chronic depression. And when you carry that around for the rest of your life, it has an impact on the rest of your life. So everything that you're doing right now, whether it's being complacent, allowing your relationship to continue dying, really not making the moves, all of that has got a massive effect for you in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I was speaking to somebody recently, and we were talking about the price of the reignited man. And I said, it's going to cost you $1,000. And initially it was taken back. I was like, $1,000. And then I stood back and I said, it's either you choose to have a hope strategy and then just go off and then go and try and figure it out yourself, which is perfectly fine, because you will eventually find it if you continue digging. But I can shorten it for you for £1,000, 6 weeks. You get a course, you get the exact steps in order to achieve this, because now you're getting what inputs you need to be putting, the right inputs to change your relationship. And the advantage of doing all of that is the fact that if you go back if you're now 78, and then you think back in your life and you think how terrible things were for the past 40 years, in terms of $1,000, would you pay $1,000 to be happy for those 40 years? And in the context of it, it actually becomes a really much fraction of the price. Now, I was doing that so that you can understand why we price. Also, just really understand that hope is a terrible strategy. If you're not taking action, I'm never going to push you to take action. That's not who I am. If you come to one of our strategy sessions, I will never give you the price. In fact, we now just have a new policy that we'll have at least 2 calls before we actually talk about a sale. So the first one is literally me giving you strategy, and whether you choose to work with us or not, it's no big deal. So I'm really excited to have made this episode, and hopefully you can actually give you an idea of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. And really, when I spoke to my son, I thought I need to make this episode, because there's a lot of people that just live in hope and think things will change by themselves. And again, if you're not willing to invest, that's okay. It just means that your journey is just going to take a bit longer if you don't give up. Whereas you could have somebody who's going to hold you by the hand and say, these are the exact things that you need to be doing. And then also keep you accountable for those things. So when you are feeling a bit down, a bit discouraged, or feel like giving up, somebody's there to tell you that you need to keep going. And this is why we charge, and this is why we're building a business around this, and really wanting to change people's lives so they can be better within their relationships. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.